For anybody that wasn't buying into the mainstream media's pathetic attempts to defend Madam Web before it came out in theaters, it was pretty obvious to predict that this thing would be yet another Marvel box office disaster, this time for Sony. When you're tracking to make less than Morbius did opening weekend, you know it's probably not going to end well for you. And in fact, the opening weekend was worse than anybody could have possibly expected. A 6-day opening weekend, nearly a week. And they've only made $50 million worldwide. Yet there were some people that were trying to make excuses and say, well, you know, the budget's just so low, it might give them a chance to break even. Even with the reported $80 million budget, that was never going to happen. They still needed to hit around $240 million worldwide to break even. No chance of that. But now we're finding out it's even worse than people thought before, because predictably, like we see all so often with movies like this, when reports come out and say, well, really, the budget, they kept it under control. And in reality, when the real numbers come out, it's more than anyone expected. Madam Web's budget was bigger than we originally thought. Who could have possibly seen that coming? A new report reveals the budget for Sony's Madam Web, starring Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney, was bigger than originally reported. And I'm not surprised by that either. And based on what we've heard and based off what you can see in the movie, it shouldn't be surprising. It seems like they changed a lot of things. There was probably like a lot of reshoots done. It probably went way over budget for some of those reasons as well. And now we get this news. While the budget for the Dakota Johnson starring Marvel movie was previously reported to be in the vicinity of $80 million, The Hollywood Reporter recently revealed the budget for the latest entry in Sony's Spider-Man universe was actually in the low $100 million range, according to several sources. So that could be anywhere $100, $110, $115 million, somewhere around there. Let's be super generous and say it's only $100 million. That means that this movie needs to hit around $300 million worldwide just to break even. There is no shot of that happening. At this point, they're probably going to be lucky if they get to $100 million, period. $100 million worldwide. To put that in perspective, when you factor in marketing, when you factor in the original production budget, at a bare minimum, they've spent $150 million on this movie. That's being conservative. That's being, very nice to them. That would mean if he makes $100 million at the box office, they get to keep half of those box office proceeds. You're talking about a movie that loses approximately $100 million for Sony. Now, certainly, that's not as big of a failure as something like The Marvels, despite it making more. They spent $300 million plus to make that piece of shit movie, plus all the promotion they did for it. Yet, nevertheless, it is still a pathetic box office failure. And this report is stemming from this big piece from The Hollywood Reporter, Inside Sony's Madam Web Collapse, Forget About a New Franchise. Basically saying that a failure like this scraps any plans that they had for these heroes. It might scrap the entire plans for the Sony Spider-Man universe. And this is where, people came out and said, hey, we maybe underestimated the amount of women that would come out and see this thing. It clearly was not enough to support a movie like this. You're starting to see people in Hollywood being forced to admit these things when you see failure after failure after failure. But the fact that this budget is actually far more than anyone expected, again, being conservative by saying it's only $100 million. They said the low $100 million range. That could be 100, 110, 115, maybe enough to 120. Who knows? But even at $100 million, when you combine promotion, everything like that, this is a movie that would then need to hit around $300 million worldwide to break even. Morbius made $160 million worldwide in its entire run. And Madam Web is tracking significantly behind that, more than half behind that. This is going to struggle to hit $100 million worldwide, and it is a massive, colossal failure. Everyone's finally coming around to admitting that now that it's actually out there for people to see. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comment section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.